Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, unlocking your phone, tapping on Instagram, and seeing just one message on your screen. Access denied. You are too young. No reels, no comments, no stories, no likes. For millions of teenagers in Australia, this is not a hypothetical future anymore. This is now their reality. Australia has become the first country in the world to legally ban children under the age of 16 from using social media. But this decision raises a powerful question that affects every country on Earth. Is this law truly protecting children, or is it the beginning of government control over the internet? And the most important question of all, could your country be next? Just 20 years ago, childhood existed mostly outdoors. Friendships were built in school corridors and neighborhood playgrounds. Arguments ended when the school bell rang. But today, childhood lives inside screens. Children wake up with phones in their hands and fall asleep with glowing screens inches from their faces. Studies now show that teenagers spend between 7 to 9 hours every single day staring at screens. More than 90% of children create their first social media account before the legal age of 13. And alongside this explosion of connectivity has come a silent epidemic: anxiety, depression, self-harm, body image issues, cyberbullying, and emotional isolation. A child today no longer compares themselves with classmates alone. They compare themselves with filtered influencers, rich lifestyles, sculpted bodies, and impossible perfection. When they fall short, they don't feel average. They feel worthless. This is not weakness. This is algorithmic pressure shaping young minds. For years, social media companies repeated one sentence like a shield: "We just provide a platform." But leaked internal documents exposed a much darker truth. These companies knew their apps were addictive. They knew their algorithms promoted harmful content. They knew teenagers were becoming more anxious, insecure, and dependent. And yet they continued, because their entire business model depends on capturing human attention. The longer you scroll, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more money they make. And the most valuable users are not adults. They are children. Because when addiction begins early, usage lasts a lifetime. This was not an accident. This was digital engineering. In Australia, warning signs were everywhere. Teen suicide rates were rising. Cyberbullying cases were exploding. Teachers reported shrinking attention spans. Parents said they could no longer compete with dopamine-driven algorithms. Doctors officially began calling it a mental health emergency. Australian families were watching their children change in front of their eyes, becoming more anxious, more distant, more addicted. And finally, the government decided that moral warnings were not enough. In 2024, Australia passed a historic law. In 2025, it became active. For the first time in internet history, a country officially said, "Enough is enough." The new law states that no child under the age of 16 is allowed to legally have a social media account. Platforms are now responsible for verifying a user's age. All existing under 16 accounts must be removed. And if companies fail to enforce this, they can face massive fines reaching tens of millions of dollars. This ban applies to all major platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, X, YouTube, Reddit, and Twitch. Australia did not ban phones. It did not ban the internet. It banned the algorithmic addiction that feeds on the minds of children. For the first time, a government told Silicon Valley that corporate profit cannot come at the cost of childhood. Enforcing a digital age limit is far more complicated than enforcing age limits in the real world. The government has ordered companies to take what they call reasonable steps for age verification. This could involve identity documents, facial recognition, behavioral detection, or parental verification systems. But Australia also made one thing clear: it does not want children uploading government IDs casually onto corporate servers. This creates a dangerous paradox. To protect children, platforms may need to track them more deeply than ever before. The very systems designed to guard privacy could turn into tools of surveillance. And the world is watching closely to see which path these companies choose. When the ban went live, the reaction from teenagers was explosive. Across Australia, Young people called it censorship. They said adults had destroyed the environment, the economy, and now wanted to control the internet too. For many teenagers, social media is not just entertainment. It is where they share depression, build identity, escape abuse, and search for belonging. For LGBTQ youth, socially isolated children, and teens suffering anxiety, social media often feels like the only place they are understood. To them, the ban did not feel like protection. It felt like digital exile. Among parents, the nation split into two emotional camps. One group felt sudden relief. They saw children sleeping better, focusing in school again, talking more at the dinner table, and showing fewer mood swings. But another group felt deep fear. They worried that the ban would simply push children into underground platforms, secret accounts, fake birth dates, and VPN usage. They asked an uncomfortable question: are we actually solving the problem, or are we just forcing it into the shadows? Behind carefully written press statements, panic spread through the tech industry. This law struck at the very heart of their business model: early addiction, long-term engagement, and endless data extraction. If Australia succeeds, other countries could follow. And if that happens, billions of dollars are at risk. This is no longer just a child safety issue. It is now a global power struggle between governments and the most powerful corporations on Earth. Critics warn that to verify ages, companies may rely heavily on biometric tools, facial recognition systems, and centralized identity databases. This could mean that in the process of escaping addiction, children might enter a future of lifelong digital tracking. The fear is simple but terrifying. Are we protecting children or building the foundations of a global surveillance ecosystem? Let's be honest. Teenagers have always been excellent rule breakers. They already know how to fake birthdays, borrow accounts, hide VPNs, and migrate to hidden platforms. The Australian government itself admits that some children will bypass the law, but its argument is firm. Even slowing the damage will save lives. Even partial protection is better than none. This law is not truly about children alone. It is about a much bigger enemy, the attention economy. A system where rage spreads faster than truth, fear travels faster than facts, beauty is filtered, and self-worth is measured in likes. Social media does not show reality. It shows whatever keeps you addicted the longest. And when childhood grows inside this system, society itself becomes programmable. After Australia acted, shockwaves traveled across the world. European nations began drafting proposals. American lawmakers demanded hearings. Asian governments started studying enforcement models. Parents everywhere whispered the same question: should we do this too? For the first time since social media was created, the world stopped scrolling and started questioning. Supporters call this law protection. Critics call it digital authoritarianism. The debate has become philosophical. If alcohol has an age limit, if driving has an age limit, if voting has an age limit, why does the most psychologically powerful invention in human history have no real age limit at all? Is unrestricted access true freedom or just unregulated exploitation? If this experiment fails, governments may lose the courage to challenge tech power again. Platforms will regain dominance. Digital addiction will expand further into childhood. But if it succeeds, we may witness the beginning of regulated digital childhood, the first crack in the algorithmic control of society. For the first time in internet history, a government chose children over corporations. And now the entire world must answer one final question: are we brave enough to protect the next generation, even if it means limiting the most powerful machines ever created? This is not just about Australia. This is about your children, your schools, your future society. Because once childhood is shaped by algorithms, society itself becomes programmable. Australia pressed pause. Now the world must decide. Do we keep scrolling, or do we finally look up?